Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I thought Mr. Zine said he was going to, Mr. LaBonge was going to be here today. He's not here, so we'll go ahead and begin. This is the Ad hoc Committee on Recovering Energy and Natural Resources and Economic Benefit from Waste for Los Angeles, better known as RULA, special meeting Tuesday, June 7th. And I'm Councilman Smith, chairman of the committee for the last time, the last meeting. So congratulations, all of you. You get to be there for the last meeting. Item number one.
Item number one, Bureau Sanitation report relative to evaluation proposals under the commercial technology category for processing municipal solid waste utilizing alternative technologies premised on resource recovery. Formerly Council File number 07-2827.
Okay. The Bucket Man.
Bucket Man is here. It's my new title.
We got both of them. The two winners, the two recipients.
You don't should slide down.
It's an inside joke if you had to be there.
Well, good afternoon, Honorable Council Member Smith. It's really a pleasure to be here today. I know this is kind of sad in a way for us because this is the last meeting for this Renew LA committee. And so what we had scheduled is a brief presentation by the technical team that to outline what the accomplishment that we have done and the process it took us to get here. This process has been long, but we could not have accomplished it without the guidance and help of Councilmember Smith and Nicole Burnson. So you've been an instrumental piece for this equation. We also have to thank Commissioner Ruiz as she helped us through this process. The process for alternative technology really began with the Renew LA as our foundation. We took what you have started in Renew LA, that there has to be a better place for the trash than just putting it in the landfill. Myself and the technical team behind me and have took this to heart, and we tried to figure out what is the better way of doing it. We have implemented reuse program in the city. We have implemented recycling. We achieved 65% diversion, one of the highest in the countries. We also, in the last few weeks, we implemented recycling programs for milk cartons, orange juice boxes. We're going to be adding coffee cups, the Starbucks and the others into our program. All these are coming into the city of Los Angeles, something that was unthinkable. And so what we were looking at is that small piece in the trash bin that could not be composted or recycled. We have 8,700 homes in South LA that are doing food waste composting. And our plan was really to expand it into West LA and other parts of the city. We have implemented multitude of programs, and all really that thanks to your help and your guidance from Renew LA. So we started with the alternative technology, and we went out and we got about 13 companies that proposed. We had the room, I remember back in 2007 when we started, we had a room full of over 50 companies that attended that meeting. And we were just happy to see maybe 12 when we started. We had basically a standing room only. And we got 13 submittals. Out of the 13, we have 3 finalists that Reina will be talking about, as well as Miguel. But I would like to say what I found out, the 3 final companies are all capable and really well positioned to assist the city of Los Angeles in becoming a world leader in handling and recovering the energy from the MSW. The finalists have all demonstrated the expertise required to develop, permit, design, finance, construct, and operate facilities that are similar to their proposed alternative technology system. And Reina and Miguel will give you an update on this one. But I really want to acknowledge also the entire technical team. You've seen Reina and Miguel, who's been working side by side. We also have world-class city employees who've also been working on this. And, starting with Dr. Rowena Romano, who's been, he's a biological expert. We have Cecile Buncio, who's basically chemical engineering and thermal expert. And we have the genius, we call him Dr. Kim Tran. Last time we measured his IQ was off the chart. So he's really one of the best assets the city have been able to have. So we also, we have Javier Polanco, who's the acting division managers. So we have a great technical team, and I'll turn it over to Reina.
Well, good afternoon, Councilman Smith. I'd like to, before I begin, I would just like to acknowledge you for your outstanding leadership with Renew LA, and certainly you were instrumental in getting SWRP off the ground. So for that, I'm very appreciative, and you will be sorely missed.
Thank you.
So before we go into the details of the evaluation and the final ranking of the alternative technology proposals, I would like to just take a few minutes to provide a brief overview of the Bureau's overall vision of envisioning a world without waste. And we do have a presentation for you, and I think a hard copy like over here. Thank you. So, and of course, one of the key drivers of SWRP was Renew LA, as well as several mayoral directives. We looked specifically at phasing out of urban landfills, reaching a short-term goal of 70% diversion by 2013, a long-term goal of 90% diversion by 2025, as stated in Renew LA, as well as converting the city's collection fleet, which comprises over 750 refuse collection trucks, to clean-burning liquid natural gas by 2010. One of the key components of that overall vision, of course, was alternative technology, and looking at siting 7 facilities within the city as well as the local region. Through the SWRP stakeholder process, which was an extensive one-year process that was conducted in 2008, we had over 2,500 stakeholders that were part of the process. You attended a couple of those meetings. And as you mentioned last week, who would have ever thought you'd have 500, 600 people in one room talking trash? So,
well, the council meetings tend to get like that, but
right, but real trash, right?
Real trash, yeah.
So a huge accomplishment, and at the end of that process, we developed the stakeholders developed 12 guiding principles, which included education to decrease wasteful consumption, the city taking a leadership role in pushing for zero waste practices, education and increasing recycling, protecting public health and the environment, looking at incentives and convenience for the public to really kind of incentivize them to recycle and do everything they can to decrease disposal options. And then one of the key things, too, was upstream producer and manufacturer responsibility. And through this stakeholder process, we actually heard from the stakeholders that they wanted alternative technology as long as it was proven and new safe technology. So, and some of the comments were, how comes we haven't done it earlier? So that was enlightening and encouraging to hear. So part of this process established the, in looking at the EPA hierarchy of waste management, it includes source reduction and reuse as the most preferred option of managing waste. The Solid Waste Integrated Resource Plan looks at maximizing source reduction through upstream policies and programs, reusing items that have not yet reached their end-of-life potential, and recycling and composting everything that is recyclable. Our residential blue bin, green bin, and brown bin programs are testimony to the city's successful curbside recycling program. However, through Renew LA, the Bureau is looking to decrease landfilling and moving towards recovery of black bin residual waste that's left over. And then through any additional upfront recycling, energy recovery, and beneficial reuse of recyclable materials prior to disposal of any leftover residual waste. So this piece of the black bin project and trying to recover as much as we can from the black bin before final disposal in a landfill was the development of the alternative technology project. And through extensive outreach, as I mentioned, to date, SWRP conducted over 250 workshops, conferences, house meetings, business interviews, to increase public awareness of the city's zero waste plan and its interconnection to Renew LA, as well as garner stakeholder input in development of the plan. Our stakeholders told us that they wanted to invest in new proven technologies that could accomplish zero waste goals. And through the alternative project as well, we also conducted an additional 120 additional outreach meetings that focused on outreaching to elected officials, governmental agencies, environmental groups, business groups, as well as neighborhood councils. I think we touched on all the neighborhood councils through the from 2005 to 2009, that outreach effort. And so basically what the Alternative Technology Project looked at was we sent out an RFP in 2007, and we received 9 commercial technology proposals that were evaluated, and they comprised of the biological technology component, which consists of anaerobic digestion and composting, as well as thermal technologies, which include advanced thermal recycling, which we consider second-generation waste to energy, as well as gasification and gasification pyrolysis. And so with that, I'll turn it over to Miguel, who'll go into more of the details of the evaluation.
Good afternoon, Councilman Smith. And I would like to start before I go into my part of my presentation, that I want to thank you for all the hard work you have done in supporting this project from the very beginning. Your biggest contribution has been financially to this project. I mean, your Sunshine Landfill Trust Fund has been one of the key source of finances to look for alternatives to landfilling. And with that, I'm going to move forward with the presentation. As Reina was talking about, we part of the process of the RFQ back in 2003. We released an RFP to select a consultant to provide us technical support, since the city did not have that specialty in-house. And by 2005, we selected a consulting company that came in and helped us evaluate various technologies, thermal technologies, biological technologies, to determine whether they were viable to begin with. We didn't know whether there were viable technologies out there. We knew in Europe they were applying them and using them, but we didn't know whether they will be good for our waste that we generate here in LA. In 2007, that report came out, which supported that concept that the technologies that we were looking at were viable. Then in 2007, the Bureau and the city released an RFP to call for vendors out there for commercial and emerging technologies to submit proposals for us to consider whether we can develop those technologies. And by August 2007, we received 13 proposals, like Reina mentioned, 9 for commercial, 7 for emerging. We evaluated those technologies, and we ended up with 9 companies. Out of the 9, we had 3 companies under the commercial that did not qualify. They didn't fulfill the good faith effort. Other 3, as we moved down the process, were eliminated because they didn't comply in terms of the technical aspect. They did not meet all the qualifications that the city were looking for. Therefore, we ended up with 3 companies. We ended up with 3 companies. In this case, the 3 companies that Alex mentioned, that was Green Conversion, Ubasair, and Wheeler Brader. One of the things that we requested additional time to evaluate those companies before coming to the board for our recommendation was we were asking for the best and final offer. What that meant was that 2 years ago, as you remember, there was a financial crisis going on, and some of these companies, some of the financing companies that were supporting this project it seemed like they had some issues with their credit, their line at New York, so we wanted to make sure they were still viable to finance this project. We went ahead, we requested additional information, and they submitted that information, and we saw that those three companies were still viable financially to proceed forward. In November, and then we moved forward in November of 2010. One other thing that came out was after we reviewed that, one of the questions that came out from requested by the city was why don't we look into having a pre-process in front of these technologies. That was not part of the initial proposal. So we moved forward and we requested the companies to submit a proposal that had a pre-process. Therefore, we gave them a few months, and by late 2010, they came in with a proposal that included a pre-process. The Bureau went ahead with the help of HDR to evaluate those proposals, whether they were viable in terms of having a pre-process in front. I mean, these companies were advanced thermal processes, and there were some issues regarding having a pre-process, removing some of this material that got to be fed into this process. Under the evaluation, they were viable, feasible to have a pre-process in front of these thermal processes. So in early this year, February 2011, we had the evaluation panel evaluated the three proposals under that condition of having a pre-process. And the criteria that the evaluation looked at, it was landfill diversion, service fee, reference facility, operational experience, engineering, credibility. This is where the criteria that we evaluated those technologies. Based on this criteria, we scored those vendors, and they were ranked based on this. The evaluation team that ranked these proposals included a staff from Water and Power, a professor from Caltech. We had the County of LA also was part of the evaluation, and Bureau of Sanitation staff evaluated that. We thoroughly evaluated the submittals, and based on the ranking, the evaluation team ranked Green Conversion System as the highest ranked proposer, followed by Obasser and Wheeler Brader. This was brought up to the Board of Public Works on May 20th, where the Bureau proposed to the board the recommendation to move forward and allow the Bureau of Sanitation to start contract negotiations with the highest rank. Through that process, the board requested to continue this item. We came back on May 25th to the board to continue the discussion of the highest ranked, and there were some concerns in terms of there were some questions regarding what they have proposed, and Green Conversion has proposed a extremely robust pre-process system that there was some questions we need to clarify. On May 25th, the board authorized and approved the recommendation of the board of the Bureau of Sanitation to start contract negotiations with the highest rank, and also to allow us to contract outside legal services to help us with the contract negotiations. However, also the board recommended both Bureau of Sanitation and city attorney to look into the RFP whether the city can negotiate with the second rank for the development of the second facility. At this time, we're still working with the city attorney to come back and give that recommendation to the board to see whether that's viable. With that, I want to conclude my presentation by thanking all the contributors of this project, Councilman Smith. Like I mentioned, without your support and the staff support on Nicole Bernson, this could not have been moved forward. I mean, you have done tremendously to help us move it in the political behind the scenes, and the support that you have provided to this project, is tremendous. I also want to thank our Bureau Executive, Enrique Saldivar and Alice Halu, for their support. I mean, they're always pushing us forward and try to get the best of us. But also want to go ahead and thank Javier Polanco, our assistant, acting division manager, Reina, Kim Tran, Dr. Kim Tran, Cecile, Rowena. They've been tremendous support on reviewing, and the technical expertise has been tremendous. Also HDR, and also we also had technical support from outside besides HDR, which is Cal Recovery, Dr. Diaz, world-renowned person who has been fantastic in providing technical support. Also from UC Davis, we had Rob Williams, technical background, excellent, and nevertheless, Dr. Hoffman from Caltech. With that, we conclude our presentation, and if you have any questions, Councilman,
We have one request for a public speaker, and I see a lot of lobbyists in the back row, so there's something going on today. First, let me just say, it was a team effort, and I thank you for your accolades, but it really was a team effort. I think if I had brought Renew LA to the Bureau of Sanitation in 1995, it would still be in the Bureau of Sanitation. But with Rue Robinson coming to the Bureau, and now Enrique and you guys, you embraced it fully. You saw the value. You wanted to do it too, and that was the key element. You really wanted to do it too because you saw the need and the value. And so without your complete support, 110% of everything, we wouldn't be here today. So thank you for making it happen. I appreciate that much. We have one speaker request, David Garcia de Herreras. Afternoon, how are you?
Good, thank you. How are you? Do we have time limit? Yeah.
No, don't worry about it.
Okay, thank you. Well, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, good afternoon. My name is David Garcia de Herreros, and I'm not a lobby. Sorry about that. I am the U.S.
Dennis Zine's not here. It's okay.
I'm the U.S. representative of Urbacer. We would like to state at the outset that while we disagree with the relative rankings proposed by staff in the board report, we have the utmost respect for the Bureau of Sanitation, the staff and its consultants, and the extensive work that they've been performing. Urbacer and Keppel-Seghers submitted a realistic proposal specifically designed to meet the practical needs and the policy objectives of the city. We propose environmental performance standards that we believe were achievable on a sustained basis, utilizing proven technology and taking into consideration all relevant factors. These rates are based on the extensive information and expertise that we have gathered as a world leader in the management of municipal solid waste, and they are rates that we are prepared to stand behind in the form of firm guarantees. Let there be no mistake. In the design and operation of this facility, we intend to strive for the very best environmental performance possible. If the performance standards we have proposed can be beat, we will beat them. With our extensive experience, there is no other company on the short list of proposers that is in a better position to advance the state-of-the-art environmental performance. As you prepare to move forward, we think it is important for you to carefully consider the following questions. First, who exactly is it that will be on the hook to the city, and do they have the resources necessary to follow through on their commitments? Urbacer and Keppel-Seghers are world leaders in the design, finance, construction, and operation of waste treatment facilities with over 20 years of experience and over 100 completed projects worldwide. As a joint venture proposer, these two companies will be directly responsible to the city, and we possess all the necessary resources to fulfill all our obligations. This includes technical, personnel, and financial resources. This provides a level of assurance and security to the city that simply cannot be replicated by a proposer that must rely on a long list of subcontractors to meet its obligations to the city. Second, what experience does the proposer have in designing, building, and operating plants similar to that being proposed for the City of LA? All of the reference facilities included in our proposals have been built and are owned and operated by Urbacer and Keppel-Seghers. In fact, we understand this to be a requirement of the RFP. Specifically, with respect to emissions performance, Keppel-Seghers is one of the world's largest and most skilled designers and suppliers of air pollution control system. In a stark contract, the facility referenced by the first-rank proposer, the MVR Hamburg plant, is owned by other entities. In evaluating the proposer's ability to design, build, and operate a plant, the city should look to how many plants each proposer has in fact designed, built, and operated. Third, and related to the first two, how much confidence can the city have in the representation of the proposers? With experience comes technical expertise. With over 20 years of experience in the waste industry and over 40,000 employees, we have developed a keen technical understanding of how to design and engineer these complex waste treatment systems. We know what can be achieved and how to achieve it. Some of the levels claimed by the first-rank proposer related to recycling rates and emission levels cannot, in our view, be commercially achieved by practical and proven technologies. Urbacer and Keppel-Seegers propose technologies and guaranteed emission rates that they know are implementable and achievable based on commercial operating facilities. Finally, is the proposer's vision consistent with that of the city? To guide our proposed facility concept and design, the Urbacer and Keppel-Seegers team used the goals outlined in Renew LA and the Solid Waste Integrated Resource Plan, SWIRP. For example, the Urbacer Keppel-Seegers proposal incorporates proven conversion technologies, including anaerobic digestion, composting, and gasification. Our proposal uses waste treatment technologies that provide full landfill diversion credit in accordance with California state law. Our competitors do not. Our proposed facility generates renewable energy as defined by the California Energy Commission. Our competitors do not. Our proposal supports the City of Los Angeles in becoming a leader in the waste industry. In conclusion, Urbacer and Keppel-Seegers prepare a comprehensive proposal using proven and advanced technologies that maximize material recovery, renewable energy, and environmental protection. We have the practical experience, the technical competence, and the financial means to deliver on our proposal. We respectfully request the city consider this information during the evaluation of proposals and include Urbacer Keppel-Seegers in the contract negotiation process. We hope that we will be able to show the city our flexibility on technical solutions and pricing during the negotiation phase. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your being here. My understanding was that Commissioner Alarcon had expressed interest in the comments you made, that it was her motion, I think, or at least came from the board, that we look at the second option because Renew LA did call for 7 facilities to be built, that it was within our purview and their opinion that we could go ahead and begin also discussion to see if it could be completed as a second contract. Mm-hmm. So I am going to address that in my instructions in a moment, but it was obvious that the board felt very compelled by your comments to look at that, and I will forward that as well. So thank you very much. And the Commissioner, we have Commissioner Nutter here. Appreciate your being here, sir, and thank the board for all their support too and for bringing this forward. With that, there's no further public comments, so if the staff would come back up.
Thank you.
And I've been joined by Councilman Labange, too. For those of you who don't know him, this is Councilman-elect Mitchell Englander, who in 23 days will be sitting in this chair, taking my place. So a couple questions, and some of it dealing with the comments we just heard from Urbacer. When the awarding the contract for GCS, when we were in Hamburg, one thing that was missing was a pre-processing portion of that. Is there any references that they have? Who is the system they're using? It's obviously not their own. That they now meet all the concerns we have with WTE systems, air quality control, and the pre-processing. All those components can be met by them.
Councilman Smith, Alex Hello for the Bureau of Sanitation. We, in the initial proposal that GCS has brought to us, did not include a pre-processing system. However, when they came back with a revised, they brought in a CP manufacturing as their pre-MRF. CP has done several of these facilities. And they have looked at the waste characterization that's provided by the City of Los Angeles. And based on their evaluation, they believe that they could recover more recyclables. So my staff could talk more about the details of how we evaluated the manufacturing. We looked at what they're doing in other places. They were present also at the Board of Public Works hearing, and they basically were ready to explain how they were able with their technology to recover. Also, what we felt is that since we're expanding the recycling stream really in very robust way, we're adding like the milk cartons, which when we started the RFP process, when we provided, we were not recycling milk cartons, we're not recycling orange juice boxes, we're not recycling Starbucks cups and others. Right now, as we're expanding the recycling stream and we're pulling more, we felt this material recovery facility will help enhance it. And only the small residuals will be going into the process itself, into the thermal process. Other vendors looked at it, and they could have had the option of upping this one. In our discussions between the May 20th and when we went back to the board on the 25th, they could have added more material to be taken out. They chose to be on the safe side. For example, one of them only decided I want to take only 1% because really this is what the biggest revenue going to be for the process. The rest of the material could be used thermally. So we felt that really GCS pushing the envelope in this case on the recycling front and also on the emission front. We never really seen 5 parts per million for NOx. On all the facilities we looked at, they did bring to the table 2 facilities that were in Sweden, which was also a big issue, is that how low NOx can you get? And they were able to show that, okay, we could do it 5 parts per million. We did not really take their words on it, and we had Dr. Tran contact another facility in Sweden who had been operating. We also contacted academia in New York and other locations who have experience on that front. And we're working with the AQMD right now to see that technology, once implemented, that we will be reaching the 5 parts per million and hold basically GCS to those numbers. But this is, again, we are pushing into a new frontier in these emissions at the 5 parts per million. One thing I like to mention is that we never really guaranteed the waste characterization. We guaranteed the tonnage. We knew there's going to be tonnage. But we also want to recycle more. We want to reduce more. Yeah. And so it was up to GCS and the other companies to decide, well, this is how much we're going to take recycling. This is where we're going to work with the state of California on taking some other material into recycling and invest money on that front. But Cecile could tell you more details about if you're interested in the manufacturing process itself and how we evaluated it.
I think my concern was the facility we saw, the reference facility, did not have that process.
That's correct.
We wanted it. I wanted to make sure it was one that was reputable and operational and it was working. The second part of that question now then is, as you change the waste characterization, it changes the BTU output of that facility, which relies on that. So how much is that going to change the calculation? Maybe Dr. Tran or somebody can tell me, have we looked at that component to see if it reduces their BTU and energy output then?
Good afternoon, Councilmember Smith, Council-elect Mitch Englander, and Nicole Bernson. Yes, GCS, of course, since they're covering 28% of the recyclables up front, the proposed ATR unit is smaller than the ones that they originally proposed without a pre-MRF. So it does reduce your power output, basically. So it does reduce that.
Okay, so it'll affect their financials more than our financials, or?
Well, it would. So your revenue would come from, instead from the power generation, it would come from the recyclables. Mm-hmm. So that's where it's coming from.
Well, recyclables aren't worth as much as power.
Well, yes. I mean, it depends on.
It can be, the market's unpredictable.
Yeah.
The thermal unit will be smaller.
Yeah.
I mean, without going into too much detail, but really the thermal unit will be smaller. Their emissions will be lower. So when they then have to pay for NOx and VOC and PM, which is basically under the threshold limit. So really that makes an impact on how they end up designing their facility. So they decided you have 2 options in these facilities. Either you pay at the end by saying, okay, I'm going to emit this much and I'm going to do these things. And you pay for it at the back end by putting it annually into your financial model. Or you could decide, I'm going to do the upfront cost and take these things out so I don't have to pay at the back end. And in the PM and the VOC, for example, they are way under the threshold limit of AQMD, so they don't have to pay any.
Great. And what happens if they don't reach that threshold? Is there a financial guarantee on the part of the city? Because you're going to have to go buy emissions credits and have new financial constraints, if you can get them.
Right now, when we did the second notice out, the credits are available right now. However, what we want to hope with outside counsel is to really help us, guide us through these negotiations because this is really very complex negotiations, and our city attorney, we thought could use some help in bringing outside counsel who've negotiated these type of deals. And having LADWP as our partner really is going to help us as we negotiating to cement these things, because we have tons of questions really about the same issues that you're raising, Councilman. And we believe in the negotiation process, we'll be able to cement a lot of these things, all these what-ifs.
Okay. And then finally, well, not finally, the team that originally was proposing this a couple years ago is not the same team that's got the project right now. Is that correct?
There have been actually some changes, because this is, again, 2007 when the RFP went out. For example, the operation, that they always had Morgan Stanley as their partner. So that was the fix on the financial. On the operation side, which is a big piece of the equation, Veola was their company that's going to operate, and Veola has a long history. But with all the acquisition and the financial situation that happened in 2008, Veola got bought by a bigger company. And the Covanta, which operates the one in Northern California as well as the, down here. So basically, they have a lot of experience on these energy facilities. So they bought, basically, it's a bigger fish eating the little smaller. But so Covanta has really extensive experience, and they operate a lot of facilities in the U.S. So they bring a strong team into the table too,
okay,
operation-wise.
And then you mentioned in your presentation, as I recall, that they have to have a consistent ownership through the project. Is it in the RFP that the ownership remains consistent, or it reverts back to the city? Or what happens if they decide to get out of the business, they don't want it anymore, somebody buys them out and wants to spin it off? What are our protections that we have people that know what they're doing running it and are consistently our partner for 20 years?
We have, in RFP, we gave the city a leeway of options that the city could use, from the city owning it and operating it to a private company owning it and operating. The final one that we evaluated on was for a 20-year agreement, where it's be basically operated by a private. After 20 years, it will be turned over to the city at $1 value. That will be turned over to the city. That was the evaluation. Now, during negotiation, things could change, depend how the city feels, whether the bond could be, cheaper if the city floats the bond. But there is also a lot of tax incentives for a private company right now that could basically utilize those tax incentives. So when the financial team was looking at it, it's really will come down to negotiations. But we felt that for 20 years, operated by a private company, and then will be turned over to the city at the end of 20 years. But again, we need some guarantees at the back end, because we don't want a vendor who run it to the ground and give us an equipment that's basically broken at the end. So all these things going to be really have to be worked out through negotiations with GCS.
Okay. And I think the same questions really were for Ubasar, but they answered many of them in their presentation. So I think we're pretty close to going forward. I want to recognize Commissioner Daniels, who just snuck in the back. Thank you for being here. And no one else can attend from the commission, because then you got a quorum problem, the Brown Act issue and all that stuff. So anyway, thank you guys for being here. I appreciate all you've done. Mr. Engler, do you have any questions? That's an extraordinary thing I'm doing here, but it shouldn't be against the law, I don't think. I hope not.
Well, we hope Mitch carry the baton and help
Yeah.
us as we
Fortunately,
moving forward.
he was there, saw the bucket, he knows the stories, he knows everything about it. So it's going to be a very smooth transition. With that, if there are no other questions or comments from the audience, no other cards? Okay.
No cards.
Okay, we'll come forward then with the following recommendations: that we approve the Board of Public Works report to proceed with negotiations for GCS, with the following caveats that I would recommend: that they promise to meet consistently the 5 parts per million emission standard they proposed, or cure the city financially if they can't meet that. That they agree to not consider the the Sunshine Canyon landfill as a site for the facility. That they commit to owning and/or operating the facility, as we discussed, for the 20-year contract term. And ask the Bureau of Sanitation to concurrently negotiate with Ubasar, which was recommended by the board, on the possibility of a second facility with the same caveats that I just mentioned. And getting off, and then ask the city attorney to review the legal issues report. When do we know when the city attorney may be able to report back on that issue, Ted? Just so happens.
Just so happens.
I think we're bringing this to council on the 22nd. That's not time. That's
No. I was checking the date.
Okay.
I think we should have an answer for
clear-
you on the issue of whether or not the RFP that was issued would support negotiating for a second facility by the second-ranked proposer. We should be able to have an answer for the council before
Great.
it comes back to the full
All right,
council.
that would be very important. Ren.
We don't have that answer right now.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ted. So that'll be the order of the committee. Excuse me. That'll be the order of the chair. Mr. Langlander can't vote yet. So we'll go forward then on the 22nd. Thank you all for being here. And we'll then move to item number 2.
Item number 2, presentation on the Renew LA Plan 5-year milestone report.
My favorite constituent.
Good afternoon, Councilman Smith. It is my honor to address the Renew Committee. And as you mentioned, I am a constituent, so Mitch will be hearing from me about the potholes on Louise Avenue.
Yeah. Fill them with trash. Just pound it down in.
This item is something that I'm very happy to present. We don't get a chance very often to reflect on a lot of the things we've been working so hard for so many years. And so this report gave me personally an opportunity to go and look at what we actually have accomplished over the past 5 years. And as I go through this and then report the results, it's pretty astounding what we've all been able to accomplish together in the last 5 to 6 years. The Renew LA plan, as it was proposed, set a new paradigm for the city of Los Angeles with a goal of zero waste. And the way we define zero waste is to reduce, reuse, recycle, convert, keep that stuff out of the landfill as much as possible with a goal of 90% by 2025. We don't like landfills. They're a necessity, but they're archaic, and we need to find a better way to deal with the residual material that we can't use in some other fashion. So in the Renew plan, there were listed, and I think it's important to go through them, a series of policy and action items. And it's one of the ways to illustrate just how much we've accomplished. First of all, the establishment of the Renew LA Committee, with the recognition that this is a big issue and that it's something that we need to pay attention to. This committee was established in 2005, in August. So that's how long Renew LA has been meeting. Of course, none of us are any older than we were at that time. The adoption of the Renew LA blueprint and the zero waste policy by the City of Los Angeles was in February of 2006. And as I said, that was a milestone. I was actually able to tell everyone around the country that the City of LA has now adopted a zero waste policy. That was huge. I won't go into a lot of detail on the alt-tech process, but the important thing to note is that there were several items that were done in support of moving forward to the alternatives to landfilling. One of them was the Solid Waste Alternative Technologies Ordinance that actually addressed solid waste technologies and alternative technologies in the city's zoning code. Very important for paving the way for the future. Establishing the fees and the funding for the program, which we used, the mitigation fees from the Sunshine Canyon landfill, and we're using that to develop these alternative technologies. Siting and developing the first 2 conversion technology plants, were well on our way. It is a long process, as we knew it would be, But as you can see, we're moving forward, and we expect to have that done in a reasonable amount of time. And also to work, one of the actions was to establish a green energy producer bonus. And one of the things that recently has taken place is that the Department of Water and Power has now included the conversion of MSW as one of their renewable energy portfolio projects. And so that creates a great synergy within the city to make this happen.
And for the audio record, we've been joined by Councilman Labange.
Thank you very much. Who's your intern next year?
Little high school guy.
Welcome. Good to see you.
So continuing with the actions that we've moved forward on in the last 5 to 6 years. The Renew LA plan called for adding residential food waste to the green bin. We have a pilot that Alex mentioned, 8,700 homes, and we're looking at finding enough places to take that material so that we can expand it citywide eventually. Expanding multifamily recycling to 50% of the city. Well, in 2007, the City Council approved contracts for multifamily recycling, and I'm happy to say that we've got over 430,000 units in that program as of today, which is about 75% of all units in the city in the large multifamily. I'd like to also note that the blue bin system is used in those units, and that goes really well with some of our other programs like LAUSD. Our LAUSD program, we're currently servicing 684 of the LAUSD schools, over 90% of all the elementary schools with blue bin service. And we go in and train the kids to recycle. And that was one of our goals 5 years ago, was to increase outreach and increase training and teach people how to recycle better. And so these programs work very well with our curbside programs to increase recycling and get that recycling ethic in our children. Implementing recycling in the commercial sector. We've taken a number of actions, and we manage a number of programs that assist in that area. And these are, as I mentioned, only the beginning. We have a restaurant food waste recycling program that was a pilot and is now citywide. We have over 1,000 restaurants that currently recycle food waste, separate it and recycle it, and it is composted. We hope to increase that. We have an economic incentive through our rebate system that helps pay the producers and gives a rebate to the haulers if they implement these programs in restaurants. Just recently, in December of 2010, the City Council approved the mandatory C&D recycling ordinance. C&D recycling, there's a lot of construction and demolition recycling going on, but we estimate that there's at least 150,000 tons of material that's mixed that goes from construction sites to landfills, and we want to stop that. So the C&D recycling ordinance mandates that all material that is hauled from construction sites has to go to a certified processor, and there are increasing levels of required recycling over the next 3 years to make sure that that material is fully utilized before the residual goes to landfill. Just this year, the Bureau of Sanitation was the happy recipient of the Green Business Certification Program that we inherited from the Environmental Affairs Department along with some great staff. The Green Business Certification, along with our business waste assessments and other programs, help to highlight the great job that businesses around the city are doing. Because the businesses around the city in our year 2000 Bay Share, the commercial sector was already recycling 70%. And so we go to them and say, what are you doing right? and we try to mentor the businesses who still need a little bit of help. And that's what our business waste assessment program, it's focused. We've assessed over 800 businesses. We do an on-site visit, we give them a report, we help them, hook them up with recycling. It's been a voluntary program, and we think that it's going to go well with the Green Business Certification, which will be the reward for all the hard work, because that will include recognition by the city. So we hope to launch that. We're in testing phase right now. We hope to launch that later this year. Also, and I need to mention that there's also a great program that we support called LA Shares. They take material that businesses don't need anymore, and they donate it through their system to nonprofits and schools. They move several $1 million a year in office equipment, office supplies, beauty supplies, things that would, in the old days, have gotten thrown away. And so they have a great system there, and we hope to expand that so that they can take more. Yes.
Who got them their first place there to store their facility?
Well, that happens to be in Council District 4.
But who was the young deputy who got them the first place?
Young deputy?
You?
I was young. Yeah, he did go to Marshall. That's good. Bert Ball is great. It's a fantastic story, and that's so important. You know, Wells Fargo's closing a branch. They don't need their furniture. They call Bert. Bert stores it. You're a not-for-profit. It's a great job.
And we would love to increase that, because the best material for the city to manage is that the material we don't have to do anything with. It's actually repurposed without us having to handle it. Let's talk for a moment about our blue and green bin recycling programs. I mean, our curbside recycling program has been amazing. The amount of material we collect, the blue bin, it's over 200,000 tons a year. That's just an enormous amount of material, and we haven't rested on our laurels over the years. In 2007, we added all film plastics and also styrofoam, the expanded polystyrene, to the blue bin. We thought, while this material is out there, we should have a place for it to go so that it can be recycled. As Alex mentioned, we're also adding carton recycling. Now that's huge. I mean, how many people buy the cartons with soups and juices and all of that, and we can put all that in the blue bin? I predict that our tonnage of recycling is going to go up dramatically, at least in my household. As I mentioned, we have the residential food waste in the green bin. Another way that we are going to separate people from landfills by recycling as much as possible. We have our recycling ambassadors, a group of great guys that go out door to door and tell people how recycling can be done and try to help them out. And they've been sent all over the city to help blue bin recycling. And then we have a couple of programs. We piloted a Recycled for Dollars incentive program where our material recovery facilities gave us cash and prizes to do sort of a caught being good with our residents and make sure that they had an incentive for recycling and got a reward. We also have, with Recycle Bank, the Recycle Rewards program, which we're piloting in 7 different council districts at this time, where residents can sign up for coupons and free offers, and it's completely contingent on the outreach and recycling and Recycle Rewards actually increasing the recycling in that service area. So it's bang for your buck is going to be huge for us in those programs if they're successful. Now moving into our residential special materials program. This program is an important component of solid waste because these are materials you don't want at a landfill, but you also want to get them out of our blue bin and green bin as well, and we're constantly educating folks about that. Residential special materials program, most people know what household hazardous waste is, so that's one component of the program. We have now 6 safe centers around the city where on weekends residents can come and drop off not only their household hazardous waste but used oil, CFLs, batteries, anything they have that would be toxic to dispose, we will take and manage safely. E-waste is a huge component of that. The city has actually collected and recycled over 19 million pounds of e-waste in the last 5 years. And that amount of material just keeps increasing because so many things are e-waste nowadays. We have mobile collection events where we also go to areas that are underserved by safe centers, and we collect material in one-day events. But I want to point out that our 7th, we just had a groundbreaking ceremony not far from my house for the 7th Safe Center, which will be built in the old fire station on Balboa Boulevard. It's actually being graded right now, and construction's going to start in about another 2 months. And we expect to have that open and ready to go in May of 2012. So I'm very happy to discuss that and talk about the service to the West Valley because I know that it's going to be one of the busiest in the city. A couple of other programs that are of note. We've started placing and collecting battery buckets around the city. We have over 220 battery buckets at city facilities, libraries, police and fire stations, and also through partnerships with Jiffy Lube's Targets and B&B Hardware, where we place and collect the batteries, and it's free to the consumer, and we recycle those and manage them properly. We have a Sharps collection program. Sharps has always been an issue in solid waste, but now people are starting to recognize that they need more places to drop off their used needles and other Sharps materials that they use in their homes. So we've started that. We have 37 Sharps drop-off locations. We chose the City Rec and Park Senior Centers as an appropriate place, and so we have a partnership with Rec and Parks, and we collect those, and we're trying to get them cited in City Hall as well so that people can drop off their materials. And we also manage a program of certified used oil collection centers, 225 around the city, and we've built 14 marina oil recovery centers, which are down in the marina area, which provide a safe place for boaters to, put their used oil and other oil-based products. And I would be remiss if I did not mention the strides we've made going zero waste in city facilities. We certainly want to lead by example. It was one of the first discussions I believe we had in the Renew Committee when it first met, was about city facility recycling and how we had to get going. And I'm happy to say that we have several things that have happened over the last few years. First is in 2009, after years of development, the city adopted their environmentally preferred purchasing policy. And that's where we buy material. Our purchasing of products is going to be driven not only by recycled content, which was already part of our ordinance, but also by toxicity, recyclability, and a lot of other factors that go into play in making sure that we buy the greenest products available. And I actually am expecting to come back in late summer with a report on that. I'm happy to say that in July 2010, that the Public Works Building at 12th and Broadway became the first zero waste city facility. We recycle as much as we can there, and the residual goes to waste to energy and not to a landfill. And that is going just fine. Other highlights, in July 2008, the city adopted a policy to ban plastic bags by a certain date, and I'll get into that, but it also acted to ban the use of expanded polystyrene in city facilities. And so we've been working with city facilities and internally with city agencies to implement that policy, and I believe it's been going very well. We have our custodians, and you might have noticed in City Hall that they do not empty trash bins in some areas. And the reason is that we want people to understand that we want to encourage you to use your blue bin. If you have to get up and walk into a lunchroom to dispose of your wet trash, then maybe you'll think about, whether you have to make that trash in the first place. We have we expanded recycling by implementing the blue bin rollout. We didn't have blue bins in city facilities for many years. We thought, why shouldn't city employees be able to recycle as much as our curbside customers? And so we rolled those out in 2009. We've had clothing drives, incentive programs. You probably noticed the Zero Waste Fair and Earth Day event that just happened this last April. Many things that we've done to try to move forward at city facilities. And the Zero Waste program in city facilities, we intend to roll that out eventually to all city facilities so that the city of LA will be the first zero waste municipal city in the country. So then we get to the good stuff, and that is the results. Despite the challenges that we've had over the last several years, we have made amazing progress towards our shared goals. For example, in 2007, the city as a whole disposed of 3.65 million tons of trash. We're a huge city. That's a lot of trash. In 2009, the 2010 numbers are still interim, we disposed of 2.96 million tons. So over the last 5 years, we dispose 690,000 tons of trash less than we did in 2007. And we want to continue that move forward towards zero waste. I'm also happy to report that our preliminary numbers for 2010 show that the city is at a 69% diversion rate. That's just an amazing accomplishment. We still intend to meet the 70% by 2013 because we know we can, and we've got a little bit longer to go, but we're at 69% right now. And also, I want to point out, and something that's in the Renew 5-year plan, or the 5-year report, is that there's a greenhouse gas reduction chart in here. And counting things by greenhouse gas reduction is the way that everybody does it nowadays. But it's important to note that if we continue and we cite these conversion technologies and we increase recycling in the areas that we've targeted specifically, many of which I've already discussed, we will reduce greenhouse gas emissions in the city of Los Angeles by 3.2 million tons, or 3.2 million tons a year. That's the equivalent of taking almost 600,000 cars off the road. So,
and even with that, the 405 is still going to be crowded.
Yes, and everybody stay off in the middle of July, as they keep telling us. So I just wanted to make sure that we all recognize that even though we have made progress over the past 5 years, we have a lot further to go. We have no intention of letting you down. We're going to continue the good work, and I appreciate all your support over the years.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate what you've done. I think as we look back to the 2004 when Chip Clemens over here and Mitch and Nicole and I sat down and started knocking this original plan out, we were looking at concepts and ideas. You guys took those concepts and ideas and developed programs, numerous programs. Most of them worked, a few didn't, but you tried, and you continue to try and make incredible progress toward the goals of Renew LA. but which also was approved by the City Council as our city's goals. So you're to be congratulated for the extraordinary work you did, you and the entire staff, and Raina with all the SWRP stuff. I've said many, I never dreamed we'd have those kind of crowds talking about these issues and understanding them. I mean, they were educated, but they knew what they wanted, and they told us what they wanted, and you gave it to them and are continuing to give to them. So my congratulations to you. At 69%, we are the highest in America of any large city. Large city being defined, I think, as anything over 500,000, which is a couple hundred of those in the country. You're the best in the country. And as you look at the plethora of programs that you've put together in all these categories, didn't just focus on Blue Bend, but went far and afield from what originally was envisioned. It is truly a monument to all of us, and I just can't appreciate enough what you guys did to make this happen. Not because just where we started with my ideas, but where you took it is a whole nother level I didn't even dream of. And I doubt if any one of us in the room thought we'd be here today, 5-6 years later, all congratulating ourselves for the great success of the program that you guys developed. So thank you.
Yeah, I really have to thank our exec team for supporting us. Enrique and Alex have been tireless in their pursuit of moving forward on these things and have allowed those of us who really want to move forward to chart our own path. So we really do appreciate their guidance and their support.
Very good. Mr. LeBon.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Smith, really, for your push. It doesn't happen unless someone drives it and you drove it, which is so important. And to the staff, there's a tremendous staff at sanitation. I think it's one of the best teams. Many people, and it goes through cycles, as you know, in your experience with the city, where all of a sudden you got a great bunch of dedicated, focused managers who get great employees to do things. I want to thank sanitation for the open house at North Central. I saw some of the members here today, which is so important to share what the public does in a way. And interesting enough, because I've been to a number of them, it's great to see the public come to the sanitation yards, and it's very important. And I just wanted to thank you. The only thing I want to do is the CLA here.
Right here.
Here's what I want. I want a motion, okay? Because right now, if you get
Wait,
gas
wait,
and
Bach.
wait, I know, call a buck. There's a gasoline. I was going to call for it up for the. When you go to a gas station, you're going to get the same hose that goes into your tank to fill you up with gas, right? Well, I just got a new cell phone, and I got another new wire that plugs into the wall and a different plug. Universal plugs on cell phones. Okay, call for federal legislation. Because look how much e-waste. When you said e-waste, it came out of the back of my mind. They all should be universal. Why should there be a different one or a different size? I don't know. You know, does anybody know here?
Yeah, so they can sell it.
So they can sell it. So give me that motion.
Get to work on that.
And,
right
and put my name on top, then Mr. Smith.
There you go. I'm good.
Below, just for the last time. Thank you, Gregory. I do, you know.
All right. So with that, again, Craig and Commissioner Nutter is still there, and Commissioner Daniel, all of you, over the years, the Commission has been extraordinarily supportive in all of this. It helps when you get money to give them, but whatever, you've been great supporters, and I appreciate that and extend my congratulations to the board. This is a great success story. I'm proud to tell it around the country. We had some books printed. For those of you who didn't get it, this just came out literally this morning. It's the review of what we have accomplished, what Karen just told us, and we're going to get some more of those out. I'm going to send some of these up to Sacramento, say this is the way you should do it. We're happy to lead. And around the country, and actually the world, I don't know if you realize, but we've had copies of Renew sent to France, Jordan, Iraq. They have a lot of cleanup issues. Australia, a number of other states and cities around the country. Hawaii, Germany. There's a lot of these books floating around the world as a best practices. And so congratulations, you're famous around the world. It's awesome. Thank you. With that, we will move this on to the council. It's going to be a special hearing on June 26th. And, pardon me, 22nd. 26th will be difficult. That's a weekend, I think, isn't it? Yeah, no one going to be there. 22nd, this will be in council. So with it again, thank you very much.
Could I just ask a question? Would the Board of Public Works speak earlier before I got here?
No, Commissioner Nutter said he was here just to monitor.
Well, Paula Daniels
Commissioner
is here.
Nutter is kind of...
He's a monitor. That's okay,
He's
but
getting-
Paula,
he's getting into
Paula, I got a
practice.
question because sanitation's here and wastewater, and they're doing good things on alleys and trying to divert the water in there. The question I have to ask, and Smith, Mr. Smith, you would know this here, in a area previously, the Parkway did not have any landscaping at all, but now we have landscaping of high growth, including that sometimes goes into the sidewalk. Also, some plants that do have stickers on them. Also, I'm concerned about the visibility at an intersection when there's growth. What's the status of that?
You're talking about parkways?
Parkway, between the curb and the sidewalk.
Yeah, actually, we just had our Bureau of Street Services issued some new design guidelines for planting in parkway areas. And they have a whole list of plant palette. That
I got it. Does the council have to approve that, or where is that?
No, it's already been done, so we'll make sure it comes
Well, see, I
out.
don't understand. Here's the conceit that I have, and I see this here, is I watch in some of the areas that are very heavily populated, often people, walk quite a bit, and it does provide a hidden view. If this is a parkway here, and you're the street, and there's a child walking, and where our clerk is the stop sign, all of a sudden they appear. So I worry a little about this.
Back with your office. Can
please
I take
do.
the opportunity that I'm here, though?
Sure.
To say that I know I can't bring a motion, but could I at least just ask us all to give Councilmember Smith a round of applause?
Oh.
That he's had?
Oh, Mr. Smith.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure, believe me.
Well, Paula, thank you. I did want to, I think Paula Daniels, thank you very much for recognizing Greg. I was late because I wanted to get a pipe, to show all the work. I couldn't get a pipe, but I got the oldest railroad spike. It was on Largemont, north of 3rd, when they redid the street and landscaped it so beautifully down the center some years ago by Street Services Forces. I kept about 21. Now I got about 17. So you get number 18 for your work. Congratulations there.
Awesome.
That goes to your drawer. You got it.
Thank you so much.
LA history.
Yeah, I love LA history, so I appreciate that. And if you want to find out about how much I love history, get my book.
Very good. That's the setup. We had this all set up.
Commissioner-elect. Commissioner.
Yeah.
Councilman-elect.
Yeah, I just wanted to take this opportunity. The commissioner stole my thunder, but I wanted to recognize Councilman Smith for not only his leadership and vision, and as Councilman LaBonge had said, he was the vehicle, and he's going to leave a big hole in the city, not a landfill, just a hole,
That would be
a void.
You'd be the
hole.
You'd be the hole. Okay.
But with that, certainly big shoes to fill. When we started off on this, and I remember literally having the discussion right after the councilman was elected, and we sat down to put together his initiatives and what he was going to take on while he was on the city council. He said, my number one issue is trash and dealing with trash. And I said, okay, that sounds sexy, trash. And it wasn't extremely popular at the time. And when the concept came out of Renew LA and coming up with the idea of ending our dependency on landfills and the draconian system we've got in place of, and if I had $1 for every time he said, we just dig a hole and throw our trash in and cover it up and pretend it doesn't exist. I used to hear those words in my sleep. He said it so often that so many people got on that train. Now that Councilman LaBonge took the spike out of the rail, but so many people got on that train and wanted to move forward and got excited about it, not only in the city of Los Angeles, but all over the world, as he stated. And it's just unparalleled and unprecedented, I think, ever when you have the opportunity in life to not only be the right hand of your mentor, of a true leader in a major city that's led so many major successful initiatives that have changed the paradigm and the way people think and the way they live their lives. When you've been part of that and you can experience that firsthand, where you've seen somebody come alive on a passion and issue they care so much about, and you see so many people get excited about that movement, that forever will change not only his legacy, but the way that our kids and our children's children think about trash, think about disposal, think about our earth and caring about our communities. When you can do something like that in life and you've witnessed it firsthand, it's the most incredible experience, and I've had that ability. And so I just want to take the time and recognize my friend, my mentor, who has really put the city of Los Angeles on the map by doing this major initiative, and say, God bless you, thank you, and we are so grateful.
With that, the meeting is over.
Very good. Good job, Barry. Do we need to vote on anything or anything?